Hello, I'm Larry Coleman, and I'll be your host as we travel to Australia, the land down under, for another great filming and hunting expedition. This would be my third visit to the Great Island Continent, but this trip would take me much further into the interior of Australia than I'd ever been before. And unlike my first two trips in which I filmed my Aussie mates as they hunted the wild pigs of Australia, this trip I would be the hunter in search of the huge water buffalo that roam throughout the vast outback wilderness of the Northern Territory. In July of 2000, I found myself 5 hours south of the crocodile-infested region of Darwin, Australia, sleeping in a tent base camp my Aussie mates had established just days before my arrival. My arrival took place at 3 o'clock in the morning after a grueling 2-day journey which had me driving from Vidalia, Georgia to Savannah, where I boarded a jet for Atlanta, a 226-mile flight. From Atlanta, I would travel another 1,944 miles to Los Angeles, where the journey would continue southwest to Sydney, Australia, 7,487 miles away, a 14.5-hour non-stop flight on board a Qantas 747 jet over the vast North and South Pacific Oceans and eventually Australia's Coral Sea. From Sydney, I would board my last flight to Darwin in the extreme northern tip of the Northern Territory, an additional 5 hours and 1,961 miles. From Darwin, the trip would continue by four-wheel drive another 5 hours to my final destination just south of the small town of Mataranka, miles deep within the wilderness near the famous Roper River. When I finally arrived at the Aussies base camp, I had traveled 11,618 miles, 40 hours total travel time, 25 of those hours being spent in the air. Our hunt would take place on Elsie Station, a cattle ranch roughly twice the size of Hong Kong, but only a very small portion of the ranch was used raising cattle. The remaining area is a vast wilderness populated with huge herds of wild pigs, donkeys, water buffalo, native dingoes, fresh and saltwater crocodiles, and thousands of species of birds, reptiles, and insects. Our base camp was just off the Roper River and named the Goose Billabong campsite by my Aussie mates. Travel to the remote site was no cakewalk for the Australians either. It would take them several days of hard driving and camping along the roadway as they drove from the east coast westward till they reached Highway 1, the only north and south highway to Darwin. They reached the remote site days before my arrival in order to establish the base camp, which would become my home for 9 days. The Australians would spend some 14 days at the site before returning to their homes on the east coast. It was a trip of a lifetime, made possible only through the tremendous generosity of my Australian mates. Hopefully you'll enjoy our 2000 hunting and filming expedition in the Northern Territory of Australia. My late arrival to our base camp only allowed me some 4 hours of sleep before rising for much needed coffee prior to heading out into the bush. As usual, the Australians had planned out my visit in every detail and had scheduled my first day as a relaxing fishing day to give me time to adjust after my grueling journey. So after a few cups of coffee and toast, I followed with camera in tow as my Aussie mates trekked through the bush to one of their favorite fishing spots.
There was one right across from him. He slid in finally.
Oh yeah.
That was good.
Bugger.
Got that on video.
This one just big. There's the lure over there.
You want me to try and hook the lure and bring the lure back underneath? Or you hook it in the tree? It's already too late.
Off you go. You're going to hook this.
Well, I figured you'd put it back in the water.
Oh, I figured it might have dropped it. That's your spinner anyway.
Well, I'll get out of your way and you might as well give it a bit of a reef. You got nothing to lose now. I climbed right up there.
Look at this, it's coming back. Come to baby. Oh! Nearly left something behind. Oh, right between the legs.
I think I'll go up the bank here where it's a little safer, maybe.
Working the deck here. Not even a follow, there's not an artifice, not anything.
After no action, other than Darren losing Steve's lure at their first hole, it was off to another spot, where Carl decided to go mud bogging.
Yeah, thanks, Des.
He's just about waist deep right now.
You see?
Yeah.
Dear,
Having a slight bit of difficulty there. I believe we're going to have to throw him a rope.
Missed by 1 metre. Oh shit, I'm going right to me thigh in that.
Oh yeah, so it's his fault.
Nice pull, the 2 milliliters, mate. Yeah, you'll be right.
Carl's efforts paid off, however, as he was the only one to pull in fish.
No, he's got a... What you got?
Saratoga. They're a very nice eating fish. Darren wants them. Very colourful fish.
Yeah.
The more I started to try and lift my foot out, the more I was driving the other one in.
Let's leave that thumb
Pretty good eating.
back out of the mouth.
Huh?
Not too bad eating, yeah. We had one the other night. He's just sort of a pan size. He might feed 2 people, half a side apiece.
My first afternoon was spent going over maps of the area and being briefed on what to expect over the next 9 days of my visit.
Yeah,
Show where we drove in from?
From in the highway. in the homestead,
into the Elsie homestead, and
across the river,
and
then we followed the river for a little while.
then you veered
Yeah,
away.
we cut away here now. Instead of going straight across here, we went out in the big arc out here, back in, and that's where we are now.
That little blue spot is Goose
Lagoon. We're on the very bottom, and the swamp itself
That's
is in here.
That's the road we went out just a while ago over to those fishing holes. It goes right back to where the river is solid again. See the break in the river here? All these little channels in the middle. It just develops a great big swamp system, you know, and they're the ones we've got to try and get across.
How big an area is this?
Whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
It was around 3,000 square kilometres.
It was, yeah, 3,000 square kilometres. Actually, they said on the television the other day when they handed it over to the Aboriginals, it was twice the area of Hong Kong. Well, starting from the top of the scale down, there's Asian water buffalo, the bloke we're looking for. Then you drop down to scrub cattle, wild scrub cattle, and they're mainly what do they call them? The blokes with the humps on their back, Brahmin sort of breed, but they're polies. They've got no horns, so they're not really a good trophy animal. Then there's brumbies, wild horses. Then there's donkeys by the cartloads. There's quite a few donkeys around the place. Then the pigs, and then below the pigs you've got the dingoes. And the thing is that they're here in such numbers that you normally see them throughout the course of a session hunting. You see one of them or two of them, you know. You might start out chasing pigs, but you could come home saying you've seen a buffalo and you saw 3 donkeys and you've seen a dingo as well. It's just one of those places that you just can't be sort of prepared for what crops up in front of you. Well, the crops, well, they are protected. I mean, they're here. There has been saltwater crocs in this lagoon here, but at the moment I don't think there is any. I'd say there's probably 6 or 7 freshwater crocs in there that Darren's spotted or counted up. But you don't expect to encounter a salty, but that's not to say that they can't be here. They have been in this lagoon and they've been seen in the main river, so you're in their territory, it's a possibility.
You got a share of poisonous snakes and a few other things, but same as everywhere else, just leave them alone.
Yeah, if you go by the book, there's quite a few poisonous snakes here, but we've seen 1 or 2, and they seem to be hell-bent on getting out of your road. They're not aggressive, unless you stand on them accidentally or something like that. It's not really the kind of place that you'd want to stand on a snake either. You're that far from civilization. I think you'd be dead before you got help.
You're going to tell us about
About Scrofe.
Well, Scrofe is Darren's.
He's our, well, for the moment he's our camp mascot, but he's actually from my works. And he's featured in the Australian ad for Toyota Land Cruisers. That's where he comes from.
More grunt.
And we bought him at a Toyota sales place and he became our mascot. And he's now been taken everywhere that anyone from work goes on a trip. So he's been to Britain. He's just come back from Central Australia. He's been up on Ayers Rock. He's been hang gliding, scuba diving. And now he's gone to Darwin and here at Mataranka. So we're in a competition. We're just taking photos of all the places he's been. Maybe putting him up on a big board at work so that everyone else has no idea what we're talking about. The back end of the scientific name for the feral pig, which is Sus scrofa. So we just logically call him Scrofe.
Either that or sus.
Look at that, he's pointing where the pigs are. All you've got to do is
You can sniff them out.
Yeah, you can sniff them out. You just got to follow his direction.
And how long have you had Scruff?
We'll be on 2 years now, I think. He's well travelled. He's way more travelled than me. I think everyone in the department back at work's jealous of him because he's been everywhere. And he unfortunately missed on a trip to America while he's up here with us. He was going to deliver a lecture at a conference on carnivorous plants, actually.
That's him. You see kind of response in him, can't you?
Very educational pig, this. Not just your everyday boar.
Can we stream and Neville the concrete Aboriginal in there with him? Corroborate.
You can't simulate a bit of vomit or something there, can you?
Early the next morning would become my first morning of hunting. Again, my friends had arranged me to tag along with Darren with the camera as Darren pursued wild pigs down along the swamp's edge. Carl and Steve would venture out and try to locate fresh sign of buffalo. Carl wanted me to carry the .300 Magnum they had brought for me to use, but I had learned from past experience to do one or the other, hunt or film, not both. And Darren, anticipating his dad's next suggestion, quickly made it known that he was carrying his favorite pig shooter, a .243 Seiko rifle. As we turned to leave, Darren added, "There's no need. I've never seen a water buffalo along that portion of the swamp." Before the morning was over, however, Darren would be shoving his .243 into my hands, whispering, "It's a monster. You've got to take a chance." And I would relinquish my camera as I dashed off through the brush to head off a beautiful trophy with a rifle shooting .243 hollow point bullets in the hopes of bringing down an 1,800-pound animal.
Might be able to get in front of him and get you some footage. I can see this hair through there.
Though we ran into numerous sows, which Darren was not interested in, we did have a nice boar almost run us over late in the morning. To this day, I'm not sure why Darren passed me, but I'm glad he did, because minutes later, we rounded a corner to find a massive water buffalo feeding along an old fence line.
Indeed, he's sticking out. Oh yeah, he's a taker. I can't believe he hasn't smelt us. He is right up our back. Yeah. Take the shot at anywhere within 100 metres. got the old heart pumping.
Oh, hell.
He's down. He only went, 40 metres, 50 metres. There he is. 243 did the job.
Let's be down for good.
Yep, just take it careful. But he doesn't seem to be moving at all. Dad reckons poke him in the eye.
Hit right above the eye. You see the head good?
Yeah, lift the horns, well, lift the head up if you can, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy.
Yeah, he'd be heavy, all right.
Now watch me climb on top of this thing and it be... Now he comes back to life and jumps up, you can have some hellacious footage.
Mm.
He even laid down...
Of you and me as he goes straight ahead.
He even laid down right for us.
Unreal.
Can you see the head?
Can now. Yeah, I think he's a good animal. You're going to make these other fellas pretty jealous if they see it on the way out. Unreal.
Them head's heavy. And with a 243, your dad was a little bit worried about us bringing that, wasn't he?
I was worried about using the 243 on pigs out here. I only head shoot the pigs. And now it's taking a buffalo. Well, there you go.
That first bullet at the right angle, I think the first bullet came in back here behind the... Didn't quite... I was about 5 inches behind the ear. But the angle was right. I kind of think that first bullet kind of hit the back of the brain too.
Where do you think the second one went, you know, after he started to move a bit?
I don't know. The second one was just a shot as he ran off. I wasn't really getting a good aim, but the third one
Was a beauty.
right over the eye. I was trying to get it over a little bit.
So was he standing there looking at you when you run down the road again?
You mean when he was here?
Yeah, when you run down and...
Oh yeah. I think he was staggered. He was just standing in here kind of wavering a little bit, and he looked me dead head on when I came up. I guess because I was running so hard, my aim was off an inch or so there. But it did the trick.
Certainly did.
God, what a beast. I wonder how much this bastard weighs.
You couldn't even roll him over, I don't think, without help.
Whoa.
Probably better to leave him upright at the moment.
Yeah, I think so.
For the caping job. So we'll go back to camp and get Dad and all the knives and everything else.
Don't you think he hooked himself accidentally?
Oh, for sure. He's flown into that at night. Yeah.
You gonna go ahead and take him?
Oh, sure. Yeah, what a find. I'll take some photos of this. Look at those ears.
Some big old ears, isn't it?
This is the...
What is it again?
It's a ghost bat. It's the biggest insect or carnivorous bat we've got. The other bigger bats are the flying foxes, which eat blossom. These things eat birds.
Little small birds, I guess.
Yeah, but I've seen studies of their caves, and they've had pieces of magpie and crow.
Look at that. Poor thing just wrapped
Yeah,
himself around
he's
there.
absolutely wiped out, unfortunately.
Yeah, he must have been flying along.
I'm gonna have to cut him loose, I think.
I got a knife in my back. If you want one.
I didn't see him the other day, so he must have crashed in here in the last...
Oh, it looks like he did it last night.
He's still bleeding. Poor bugger.
Here.
Just make sure that's not his...
That's pretty wild.
Yep, these things, I think, only live in caves, in big colonies.
Fairly kind of a rare find here, isn't it?
So, to me, I've never ever seen one. So he is one of
Hold
them.
him down where you can see him a little bit. Boy, that's a...
Look at those lugs.
Boy, look at that. Yeah, that's that son of a bitch dove at me. It scared the piss out of me at night, if you knew what it was.
Probably sort of related to the vampire bats, I suppose.
Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Just a poor bugger. Like, what a way to die.
Look at his nose.
Yeah, that's their...
How it sticks up.
They all bats have different nose constructions, and it's to do with how they detect their prey and everything.
That is wild. Quite a find, just sitting on the fence.
Yeah,
So that's 60.
We've got to measure the other one, find out which one is the shortest.
He's got ever so slightly boomed off this side, that's all.
Yeah, but he's got those sweeper type horns.
And this is going to give you a hell of a spread across him. He's 28 and a half there, or 28 and 3/4 on the short one. So that's the one you take your measurement of.
59.
So you've got 59 that way, plus you've got to take the boss measurement. Just hang him in there. Oh, 17 and a half there.
That's 35.
Wait a minute, we'll try the other one. You've got to get the small one. And he's 18 on that one.
So the 17 and a half. That's 35 and... Oh, what was it? 50...
That was
30 and 28.
28 and 3.
28 is 56 and 17 and a half, wasn't it? 56
And 30.
and 35. That's 11, that's 91. 91 Douglas score.
It's bigger than Cole's.
It is a massive buffalo. And he's spread, which will be very, very interesting. Just have a guess at the spread, fellas.
What is it? 40...
Slight sweeper, 44 and a half inches in spread. Magic trophy, beautiful trophy.
Yep.
What was he? 91 inches in the Douglas score with a 44-inch spread, tip to tip. Big body, sweeper style of horn, but magnificent trophy.
What's the spread in tip to tip?
44 and a half, I think we said, did we?
Yeah, I thought it was around 44.
44 and a half spread. And he's a sweeper. He is a sweeper. See that?
By noon of my first day of hunting, I had taken the trophy I had traveled so far in search of. It was time to sit back and toast one another and discuss what remained for the rest of my hunt.
We can fix that with more vegetables, you know.
Oh, chips too.
Chips. Well, it looks like a party now.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Colourful
party.
bag. And where's the scrape? You might as well put the scrape on the table. You
All
can
my
do
friends back home, they've never heard of Coca-Cola and port wine.
And ice.
that. And
It
ice.
normally has ice. but we
Yeah,
haven't got
No
it.
ice today, but
And if you want a superb drink in America, cream sherry, Coke and
Oh.
ice.
Oh yeah.
And crush the ice, don't put big cubes.
About
oh, God, y'all
50-50.
stop, there's no ice.
Yeah, unfortunately here we've got no ice.
It's a bit hard to manufacture ice in this temperature.
Try that one at home, folks.
This is not a bad drink, though.
Well,
I
here's-
told them it was good, but they wouldn't believe me.
You've got to make it about 25-75 port to Coke.
Yeah.
Quarter strength.
And here's the Larry's buff. It's
Yes.
a good, fair trophy taken under fair conditions. You'll never get a better trophy.
I think he was a bit overgunned with the 243, but
But taking it with a 243, that was magic.
I think the next...
As was my guidance.
oh, here we go.
And the fact that he's one of the rare sweepers, not a typical shaped buffalo, is an added bonus. He is a top class trophy head. You go a long way to get a better one.
When I go home, I'm going to get me some port wine and Coke.
And every time you drink it, you'll know what you think of.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll think of the Buffalo
Buffalo booze.
and the 243. We got about 6 more days? Six,
Yeah.
7, yeah, because I was
Yep.
supposed to be here 8. So we got a good 6 days left.
Go out on the 12th, is it? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got a lot of footage and a lot of game to take.
Oh yes, there's a lot of game to chase yet. But I'm pretty well assured you're not going to see a better trophy buff than that if you stayed here for 12 months. He's exceptional, exceptional, really top class trophy.
Take another look down at the little pond in a minute when we take the head out.
We'll get the actual measurements on the horns once we get the face cape off.
And something else that's quite unique. Here's some Sambo Atomic Tomato Chips. Never heard for them in my life.
Oh, there's hot dog and mustard chips there.
Barbecue blast. Super chicken.
It is actually probably about the hottest part of the day now, so it's better to let him cool in that pond. When it cools out a little bit, we'll drag him up the bank and I'll get in the shade over there or something somewhere and start on that face cape. Once we get him separated, we can saw his horns out, and then we can bring him over here and salt him down, and we'll have him in the bag tonight.
And then we'll have visitors, I'd say, very shortly once they hear that it's
will leave your horns up in the tree. That's all I've done with mine. I just parked them over in that tree over there behind your camp. Just hooked them in the tree there, and let the sun dry them out now. There's not a lot of meat on them, but you let them dry out anyway.
Sounds good. I don't know what else I can do. I think the excitement with me is just about hit a peak. Hell, I've got to kind of get geared back up again so we can go out and do the pigs. And
well, we've got to get you some real pigs now.
Oh, you might get a mob of pigs feeding off the
Carcass, yeah.
That should be interesting footage.
preparing for the trip to the tropics. Of course, we got to have us a little suntan. We did the best we could to make the beach here. Actually, it's pretty damn nice. We got a nice breeze behind me.
Got to keep your moisture content up. You got to keep liquefied.
Plenty of fluids.
Lots of fluids.
Can't see it. There's a bunch of little crabs running in front of us. Tiny little devil. Much smaller than our crabs. There you go. Beautiful sun, beach. Sand's a little redder than it is normally. What a life, what a life. It's just absolutely fantastic. Close your eyes, I can hear the seagull, even the seahawk flying over. Now he's trying to hit me.
That's it.
It'll stand even more further back than those ones. I still see one in there though. He's just all milling around.
Darren is the quiet one of the group and not partial to my camera. Though he has over 1,000 pig kills documented, he seems to shy away from my camera. So I had to commandeer some of their home movies to show you some of his kills. And let me tell you, there is some fantastic home video to view from my Aussie mates.
Birds in the road. He's down and he didn't know what hit him.
This is the boar. Still not quite sure whether he's totally finished yet. Dad's just putting the measuring stick over him. The biggest pig we've ever shot in New South Wales went 60 inches long. We've taken them to 67 inches long down here in the Northern Territory.
Vital tile, 65 inches.
This fella went 65 inches. Tremendous shoulders on him. Unfortunately, not much in the tooth. Little short stubby, like dog killers I'd probably call them, but they're not trophy teeth, we're not going to take them.
He's pretty lean.
He's a big boar, this bloke. You don't know what we are. You're not sure. Just checking us out. This pig is about 12 metres away. A really nice boar, lone pig. You've just gone into a Mexican standoff here. They're certainly not concerned or really worried. He's just going to walk. He's off. We've got pigs all over us again. We've got pigs all around us again. These are Daz's 3 pigs from last night, 3 boars. Which we busted a gut dragging through the mud here to get them together.
He goes 60 on the nose.
And he'd be the littlest of them, I think. He's about 60.
Only 58 3/4.
58 3/4 and 60.
This bloke's physically the biggest of the lot. And a half.
65 and a half. Well, there you go. They are bloody good pigs. I'll just stop and move around now. They are 3 really good pigs. Really good pigs. Their tusks are not super duper.
Here's some great footage of a mature boar marking his territory, but Darren videotaped the monster a little too long, and he quickly walked off.
Could have been a bit of ivory, I see. No, he's foaming at the mouth. He's had a fight. He's run into other pigs this morning. And I think I'm in trouble. I'm standing right out in the open.
Tell us about this one. What are you doing, catch them and everything?
Oh, I do this part of my work down in New South Wales, so we decided to bring a bat trap up and just see what's around up here in the Northern Territory. This is only the second one we've caught in 3 nights. I'm just trying to identify what he is at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
They're not very big.
Uh-uh.
They can get much bigger than this.
What do you do with them after you? I mean, you let them go or you keep them? Or?
Oh yeah, we keep them in these little cloth bags and he'll have to, or she'll have to stay in the bag all day today, because if you let them go in daylight, all their predators will quickly find them before they can find a tree hollow to hide in. So we'll keep her until tonight, let her go in the dark, and she can have another feed. The back colour is completely different to the belly colour. She doesn't quite like what's going on because she's trying to bite me. Big feet on the thing, that might help me identify what it is.
So you just keep them long enough to identify them and set them loose the next day?
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm trying to remember what the nose looks like.
The old book on bats.
The land I was hunting was beautiful yet strange. It could go from a vast dry wasteland dotted with nothing but scrub and huge termite mounds to a gorgeous tropical oasis along the river's edge in a matter of yards. Follow the river and you would think you were deep within the tropics, full of beautiful palms and lush greenery. Venture off from the river, however, and you are quickly back in a dry wasteland. Travel by vehicle within the area was down barely visible tracks, which took us deep within the interior of the wilderness. At times, the faint trails traversed down steep banks to cross rivers and dry creek beds. Many times, the track, as the Aussies referred to the two faint trails left by a vehicle's wheels, became invisible to my eyes, leading me to wonder how one navigated such areas, and if my Aussie mate really knew where he was, and if I would ever return home. The cattle ranch we were hunting was so big and wild that the caretaker patrolled the area by a motorized ultralight type aircraft.
To the edge of the swamp, you look back between a couple of little bushes on the edge there and you can spot him.
Okay, champ, we'll flush him out for you. Thanks, Max. Have a good holiday, son.
No worries, I'll catch you next time, mate.
There probably will be a next time too, mate. I keep saying I'm not coming back, but I'm here. Catch you later, mate.
Go.
Call is at total ease in front of the camera as Steve. Unlike Steve and Darren, however, who only like to hunt pigs, Call over the years has hunted all of Australia's big game animals, taking red, roost, and hog deer, water buffalo, and hundreds of wild pigs to name just a few. He is a wonder to film as he calmly explains the local traditions and bits of history concerning hunting and the animals, insects, and birds of Australia.
Well, when we first came up here, there was no fence at all back near camp. This was just all open, free-range country, and it was absolutely loaded with wild donkeys because of the constant water supply here. But the donkeys became pretty much a bit of a pest in the fact that they drive the cattle away from the waterholes. The donkeys become very possessive of one particular waterhole and they drive everything away. Not only the donkeys, the wild brumbies and the wild cattle that was in here as well. They just dominated that one particular waterhole. And to thin the donkeys out, Max decided that he'd put this fence in. It actually acts as a bit of a barrier fence as well, like a divisional fence. But the whole idea of the fence was to fence the donkeys off from the water supply, keep them back up in the arid land away from water, and they naturally thinned out. They just died of thirst, to put it quite mildly. The donkey won't go through a barbed wire fence where a buffalo will, or wild cattle will. Well, the horses will jump a fence to get to water, but a donkey won't. And they thinned them out quite a lot. But in his holding pens where most of his cattle are, back towards the other end of Elsie Station, just behind Elsie Station, he's got two big paddocks down there. I think one's about 20 square mile and the other one's something like 25 square mile, and they're right alongside each other, and they are completely fenced off. When they originally fenced the paddocks out, they had to get in and shoot the donkeys out that were on the inside of the fence. So they rounded up a couple of vehicles and loaded them up with guys with guns, and then they got a helicopter to come in and muster the donkeys up into one end of the paddock, the narrow end of the paddock. And on a Saturday, Sunday, I think they shot something like 760 odd donkeys in 2 days, in a Saturday and a Sunday. So that'll give you an idea how big the population was. And that was only in those two little paddocks. So poor old donkey's on the hit list. Everybody sort of takes him out of it when they see him. He's not really wanted here, but his numbers are thinned out a great deal now to what they used to be. There's nowhere near as many donkeys here as there used to be.
Well, I got into a herd of mule donkeys. Took 6 shots, not sure how many I got so far. This is number 1. Hit right in the shoulder where I was aiming. We'll take a look around, see what else we can find. Well, this is number 2. There they are leaving. Hard to hold the camera steady because it's the little tiny one I got. Anyways, number 2, pretty good shot right through the shoulder. Number 3 sits over here. This is number 3. Another shoulder shot. I know I got more out here if I can find them in the tall bushes. Well, here's number 4. I shot 6 times, so I'm still missing 2 mule deer, or 2 donkeys here. Still thinking I must have some somewhere else. Grass is kind of tall, so we're going to look around some more. That's number 4. I'll look around some of this tall grass and see if I can't find the rest. Well, here's the old donkeys of Australia that are such a plague. Got into a big herd of them. Shot 4 out of 6. Shot 6 times. I've got 4 of them that dropped immediately. I don't know how many more there might be that I just haven't been able to find, but they're actually a pretty animal in good shape, heavy. All of them were pretty good shots right through the shoulder. I ended up with 4 out of 6, unless I can find some a little bit later. I was using Call's 300 Magnum, and the sun's about to set, so I'm going to try to get on back to camp.
I'll stop again. If you want, you can have the black one now.
Better color.
I'll get the black one. That barrel's just a little bit far back, actually. That was very loud.
Lies the victim.
Just posed him for some photos. Check them out.
He'd never want to miss you coming, would he?
Totally movable, a foot long. Unfortunately, they just don't run away when you do find them.
Must have been headshot, he just went straight down.
That's all I was looking at. In there, I think. Certainly leaks a fair bit of claret and goo.
Steve is the ham of the group, eager to venture out with the camera following behind. Steve's hunting abilities equal those of Darren's, with over 800 pig kills for himself being documented in their pig journal. Unlike Darren, Steve loves blasting pigs in front of my camera.
Right to take him.
Yep. Go ahead. Dropped his ass in his tracks.
Yep, that's a boar. No, I won't shoot any of them.
Too small.
Yes. Way too small. Oh, look where the wind went straight to the other one. Not big enough. Here comes. Nope. That nose is definitely an animal, not a bird.
Oi. Oi. At night, I was introduced to cane toad bashing, or more accurately described by Darren and Steve as toad golf.
Oh! Good drive. There he is.
Oh!
Didn't get a lot of lift, but
I believe the ball's in the rough.
Good quality start.
Just got a little bit too much chip on that.
Yeah, he was in the gravel.
Hmm.
And may I ask exactly why this game is being played?
Cane toads are they're one of our leading introduced pests. So they've got poison glands down the back of their neck, so very few things can actually eat them. They reproduce at an enormous rate, and they eat everything. They eat lizards, frogs, all our natives. They just wipe them out, and they come en masse. And you can see how big they are.
Where'd they come from?
South America, I think.
Yeah, they were introduced to eat the sugarcane beetle on the sugarcane crops. And they introduced them, and they've just gone absolutely wild, and they're spreading right across the top of Australia.
Right, most government projects, it's a big fuck up.
And it is a monumental problem that they can't fix. And a couple of years ago, they were not here at all, you know. And
well, let's go play golf.
Oh yeah. Batter up.
Furthest to the left. Ready?
Yep.
There's another boar on the left.
Go for it.
That might be one.
Just beyond his throat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it. Let's see how good you are. I got them in focus.
What range? What range?
Go again.
I'm empty. At him at the back that I hit.
Must have. Yeah, you hit one.
That's him scrabbling at the back. See him over?
Huh?
He's fighting it, rolling over.
Yeah, I can see. You got him.
I'm not even sure. Oh, they'd have to be the same mob. Just to the left of that tree.
Yep. Okay, go ahead. Dropped his ass in his tracks.
Didn't go for a headshot, just
What's the yardage?
give or take a few 100 yards, which is at this range. That's why I didn't go for a headshot. It's got that much energy at that range. See if we've got any more runners.
Bizarre thing is, right behind us is the last pig that was shot at about 200 yards. We just came and checked on that pig. Then we took out across the open area and walked 200 to 300 yards back the other direction, turn around, and this pig comes out.
The teeth won't look too bad in the photo. But they're very thick.
Hey, he's not a bad boar. He's got him some pretty good teeth. He's a big bone pig. He just looks a little sickly there.
I'll just measure him and see what he goes.
Definitely can't say he's a roly-poly.
No.
This is Larry and Steve out. We just came to photograph Larry's donkey kills from last night, and we heard some more. There's still some around here somewhere. So we're just going to check the area over. We may get a few more. Really good ball. We're waiting for a headshot. He's got him. He must be heading to us, I think. Here he comes. He's going down. He's going down. Ah, great bit of footage this. He is down. He's a good ball. Larry just decked this big guy out here, and he's kicking his last, and he's throwing mud everywhere. You just have to wait till he throws it in, and we'll move in and see what he looks like. But there was about 5 or 6 adult pigs in this lot. This guy was a good boar. We could hear him messing around in there.
No, I don't think that's anywhere near as big as the one you were looking at. Have you got a bullet in that'll fire?
Yeah, I think.
Here comes Larry, and I can hear pigs coming up on our right, so I'll get to him and we'll see if we can get another one. Larry, hey, hey, there's pigs there somewhere. I think, I think that big boar's gone to ground.
God, that was a big son of a bitch, wasn't it?
Yeah. To lose it that way, it was, you know, if you'd not got the chance of a shot, it was bad.
Going.
There's pigs there to your right, I can hear them.
Well, my 9-day filming and hunting expedition was coming to an end. But my Australian vacation was not totally over. For after some coffee and toast at camp, it was off once again with Cole and Steve for the 5-hour drive back to Darwin, where I would board a jet for Port Douglas, Australia, where I joined my family for some relaxation and scuba diving at the Great Barrier Reef. Hopefully you have enjoyed my footage of hunting in the Northern Territory of Australia as much as I did in filming it.
And this is going to give you a hell of a cute fish.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah.
That was good. Bugger.
Missed by 1 metre. Oh shit, I'm going right to me thigh, Matt. Look at that, he's pointing where the pigs are. All you got to do is
Sniff them out.
Yep, you can sniff them out. You just got to follow his direction. 91 Douglas score.
It's bigger than Cole's.
It is a massive buffalo.
All my friends back home, they've never heard of Coca-Cola and port wine.
And ice.
And ice.
Normally has ice.
Yeah, no ice today, but...
Oh dear. It's already too late.
Off you go. You're going to hook this.
Well, I figured you'd put it back in the water.
Dad reckons poke him in the eye.
That's your spinner anyway.
Now watch me climb on top of this thing and it be... Now he comes back to life and jumps up, you can have some hellacious footage.
Mm.
He even laid down...
Of you and me as he goes straight ahead.
And if you want a superb drink in America, cream sherry, Coke and ice.
Oh yeah.
And crush the ice, don't put big cubes.
Well, I'll get out of your way and you might as well give it a bit of a reef. You got nothing to lose now.
And here's the Larry's buff. It's
Yes.
a good, fair trophy taken under fair conditions. You'll never get a better trophy. Just have a guess at the spread, fellas.
What is it, 40?
Slight sweeper. 44.5 inches in spread.
I'm right up there.
Look at this, it's coming back. Come back, Daddy.
Oh,
Nearly left something behind. Right between the legs.
I think I'll go up the bank here, it's a little safer.
but taking it with a 243, that was magic.
I think the next...
As was my guidance.
Oh, here we go.
And there's the god of all guides.
Glad you put the guiding bit in. I don't want to be too general in my... Well, G.O.D., God of God.